Hello everyone and welcome back to this edition of Tanner's Top Reads. Today we're going over the solicitations for the month of September 2021. We've got a ton to cover here today, so let's jump right into it. We're going to start with the Diamond Gem of the Months. First up is Primordial #1. This is from Image Comics, written by Jeff Lemire and art by Andre Sorrentino. Mind-bending sci-fi collides with Cold War thriller in this 6-issue miniseries by the best-selling and Eisner Award-winning creative team behind Gideon Falls. In 1957, the USSR launched the dog Laika into Earth's orbit. 2 years later, the USA responds with 2 monkeys, Abel and Baker. These animals never returned. But, unbeknownst to everyone, they did not die in orbit. They were taken, and now they're coming home. So again, this is from written by Jeff Lemire, art by Andre Sorrentino from Image Comics. This is Primordial #1, Diamond Gem of the Month. Our next Gem of the Month, also from Image Comics, is Frontiersman #1, written by Patrick Kindlin and art by Marco Ferrari. Patience, Conviction, Revenge. Patrick Kindlin and Marco Ferrari return with an all-new ongoing series. Classic Green Arrow-style adventure blends with the thoughtfulness of Concrete and a superhero odyssey for mature but uncynical readers. Frontiersman is coaxed out of retirement by an environmentalist group, only to find that being a spokesperson makes him a target for old and new enemies alike. For the superhero reader looking for more, this is Frontiersman #1, Image Comics, Diamond Gem of the Month. Our next Diamond Gem of the Month, another Jeff Lemire, Andrea Sorrentino team-up. This one coming from Dark Horse Comics as Mazebook #1. From New York Times bestselling and Eisner Award-winning Black Hammer creator Jeff Lemire comes this ambitious and haunting comic series about family, mourning, and reality. A lonely building inspector still grieves the loss of his puzzle-loving daughter, receives a mysterious phone call one night from a girl claiming it's her, and that she's trapped in the middle of a labyrinth. Convinced that this child is contacting him from this world, he uses an unfinished maze from one of her journals and a map of the city to trace an intricate path through a different plane of reality on an intense and melancholy adventure to bring his daughter back home. Only way out is in. This is Mazebook #1. This one, not only is it a Diamond Gem of the Month, but this one personally interests me quite a bit. I'm looking forward to it. That's Jeff Lemire and Andrea Sorrentino, Mazebook #1, Dark Horse Comics. Also from Dark Horse, Stranger Things, Tomb of Ybwen #1. This is a 4-part miniseries written by Greg Pak and art by Diego Galindo. It's January 1985. The Hawkins crew survive their battle with the Mind Flayer, but Will and Joyce are still reeling from the recent death of Bob Newby. Will's friends have been too busy with their girlfriends to notice how much he's struggling. After he and Mr. Clark discover a mysterious map Bob left in the box of an old nerdy memorabilia, Will rallies the crew to investigate. Up next in the Gem of the Month from IDW, Star Wars Adventures Ghost of Vader's Castle #1. This is a 5-part miniseries written by Kevin Scott, art by Francesco Francavilla and Megan Levins. Join creepy Kevin Scott, frightening Francesco Francavilla, and a host of eerie Star Wars artists in this epic conclusion to Vader's Castle saga. The Star Wars Adventures Ghosts of Vader's Castle is a horror-packed, star-studded 5-week event guaranteed to haunt your dreams. In issue #1, life is looking up for Lena and Milo Graff and Crater, but Milo has been having nightmares about zombie droids. Find out what's causing these dreams and if Milo can handle being haunted by the ghost of Vader's Castle. Our next Diamond Gem of the Month, still with IDW, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin Design Archive #1. Written by Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, and Tom Waltz. Art by Kevin Eastman. Never before seen behind the scenes. Artwork and design notes from TMNT, The Last Ronin #2 and 3. Pulled straight from the mind of TMNT co-creator Kevin Eastman and poured unfiltered onto the page. Cyborg ninjas, a transformed skyline, formidable ocean walls. You visited the New York City of TMNT, The Last Ronin. Now take a deep dive into what went into building the terrifying dystopia of the hottest comic of 2021. Go one step beyond the director's cut. Every page of this deluxe, oversized, square-bound edition is all new, packed with never-before-printed material, providing an unprecedented look behind the curtain of an unprecedented comic book event. Prove to your grandkids that you were here when it happened. Our next Diamond Gem of the Month, and again, this is one that I'm personally interested in, is Red Sonja #1. This is from Dynamite Comics, written by Mirka Andolfo and artist Giuseppe Garofalo. Mother, Part 1. Industry icon Mirka Andolfo presents an all-new vision of the She-Devil with a sword in a thrilling new ongoing series. Our story begins in a village on fire set by members of the dreaded three-eyed Shazam. When Red Sonja arrives, the only survivor of the flame is a lively child with a curious white tattoos. The child will become Sonja's travel companion on a journey from hardened ice to imposing forest where dangerous secrets wait to be revealed. Being a tribalizing adventure with Mirko Andolfo and incredible artist Giuseppe Carafo. So again, like I said, this is not only a gem of the month, but this is what I'm super excited for. I love Red Sonja, and I'm excited to see the story by Mirka. I mean, she's doing some pretty big stuff right now, so it should be a great time. Now hopping over to Boom Studios, still doing the Diamond Gem of the Month. This is Ma #1, written by Judd Ellison S. Doyle, illustrated by A.L. Kaplan. What happens when one woman becomes the real monster society has always made her out to be? Dragged by her sister, Wendy, to a feminist retreat on a remote island of Angitia, Marion Angela Weber hopes to gain some perspective and empowerment. That isn't at the bottom of a bottle. But everything is horribly derailed after an assault on their first night there. The violent encounter awakens something in Marion she never imagined, triggering warped mutations in her body and awakening a hunger she can't bring herself to name. When the townsfolk react with suspicion and violence, what unforgivable act will transform Marion into the very monster they've made her out to be? Provocative 5-issue horror series by award-winning journalist and opinion writer Judd Ellison S. Doyle and artist A.L. Kaplan that explores the anger of women trapped by society's expectations and the reclamation of power through collective rage. Perfect for readers of Redlands and Something is Killing the Children. So now we're going to hop over to the Marvel book for our very last Diamond Gem of the Month. This is Dark Ages #1. This is a 6-part miniseries, written by Tom Taylor and art by Ivan Coelho. This is what the Watcher has been watching for. A danger older than Earth threatens everything. For once, the heroes who saved the planet so many times are almost powerless in the face of it. X-Men and Avengers assemble. Spider-People and Fantastic Four come together. Heroes for hire fight alongside champions. None of it will be enough. The lights are about to go out. The world outside our window is about to end. An all-new saga for the Marvel Universe as you've never seen it before, from Tom Taylor and Ivan Coelho. This is a Diamond Gem of the Month, and this is, I think, going to be a pretty big deal, so make sure you're getting Dark Ages #1 in September. So that's it for the Diamond picks. Let's go into my picks. Since we're already here, we're going to go through the Marvel book, starting with Inferno #1. This is a 4-part miniseries written by Jonathan Hickman, art by Valerio Schiti. The culmination of Jonathan Hickman's X-Men begins here. There will be an island, not the first, but the last. Promises were made and broken. The rulers of Krakoa have been playing a dangerous game with a dangerous woman, and they are about to see how badly they can burn them. Mastermind of the X-Men, Jonathan Hickman, brings his plans to head, joined by an incredible lineup of artists beginning with Valerio Schiti, as one woman follows through on her promise to burn the nation of Krakoa to the ground. So this is Inferno #1. Jonathan Hickman's events have been awesome since he started. I think this is going to maybe tie up some loose ends from House and Powers. It's going to be a pretty big deal for the X-Men universe, so be sure you pick it up. Inferno #1. My next pick is Amazing Spider-Man #74. This is written by Nick Spencer, art by Patrick Gleason, Mark Bagley, and Marcello Ferraria. It's Amazing Spider-Man #875, and the whole ASM team is coming together to bring you a massive issue that is the culmination of 3 years of Amazing Spider-Man. It's all led to this. Hunted, Sins Rising, Last Remains, King's Ransom, Chameleon Conspiracy, Sinister War, and so much more all led to this climax and conclusion to Nick Spencer's landmark run on the best comic book in the world. What will happen to Peter and MJ, Mysterio, J. Jonah Jameson, Norman Osborn, Aunt May, and Kindred? Find out here. So this is the last issue for Nick Spencer before Spider-Man gets taken over by somebody else, and so this is going to be pretty important. Nick's been doing it for a while, and this is the end of his run, so I recommend getting it. Up next, we have the Darkhold Alpha #1, written by Steve Orlando, art by Kane Tormey. Enter the pages of Darkhold and lose your mind in a mighty Marvel fashion. Critically acclaimed writer Steve Orlando joins forces with extraordinary artist Kane Tormey for a story that will delight and terrify. For hundreds of years, scholars and heroes alike have searched for the complete text of Darkhold, aka the Book of the Damned. Written by the elder god Chthon. Now one of the greatest sorcerers in the multiverse has found it, and Chthon has found him. To save them all, the Scarlet Witch must gather the world's greatest heroes and unleash their inner darkness. Witness Marvel's universe's descent into chaos. I don't know how impactful it will be to the overall Marvel universe, but I think it's a good thing to read just to kind of familiar yourself as the Marvel Cinematic Universe gets more into the mystic side of Marvel. So I think it'll have some good background information there. Up next is Demon Days Curse Web #1, written and art by Peach Momoko. Spiders and wolves and yokai, oh my. Marika Yoshida journeys deep into the forest to find answers about her past. Instead, she finds a magical wolf with 3 toes and a strange girl with a pet spider. But there are deadly creatures in the woods too, a mysterious blue-skinned woman and a giant with super strength and claws, and they're after Mariko. Don't miss this epic tale, straight from the creative mind of Stormbreaker Peach Momoko. Book 3 of 5 of Demon Days Saga. Demon Days 1 and 2 I really enjoyed. I like the art. I like the Japanese setting that Peach has made for her interpretations of the Marvel characters. So I expect the same from Demon Days Cursed Web #1. My next pick is Death of Doctor Strange #1. This is a 5-part series written by Jed MacKay and art by Lee Garbett. Death comes for the Sorcerer Supreme. Doctor Strange is the world's greatest neurosurgeon and Earth's Sorcerer Supreme. He defends our planet from the supernatural and interdimensional threats no other hero is equipped to handle. But what would happen if he unexpectedly died? Who would protect Earth and keep the mystical evils at bay? And most importantly, who killed Stephen Strange? The final chapter in the life of Doctor Strange starts here, by Jed MacKay and Lee Garbett. Again, this is one I'm more picking up just because of the mystical aspect and just to get some more knowledge under my belt of the Marvel mystical universe as the movies kind of steer in that direction. Another pick for me, more to familiarize myself as we go into some of the new movies, is Eternals: Thanos Rising. This is written by Kieran Gillen and art by Dustin Weaver. Eternals are created, not born. They have families, but their families make no new children. It's simply not what Eternals do. Some of them thought they could find a way to change that and believed it would be for the best. They were terribly, terribly wrong. So again, this I'm more wanting to pick up this just to get some knowledge of the Eternals. They're not really something that I've read before, so I think this is going to be a good little thing to jump in and get some knowledge there. Up next, another really important story arc for the X-Men universe, X-Men: The Trial of Magneto #2, written by Leah Williams, art by Lucas Wernick. Habeas Corpus. Heroes of the Marvel Universe came to Krakoa for a memorial. Now they've got to fight. Magneto pushes Krakoa and the Council to the brink. Also, there's something wrong with the body. For those of you who read the Hellfire Gala, in X Factor 10 we got a pretty significant death. No spoilers here. But that led directly into the trial of Magneto, and I think that this story is pretty important to the overall X-Men universe, so I think it's a must-read for an X-Men fan. My next pick, Amazing Fantasy #3. This is #3 of 5, written by Kara Andrews, art also by Kara Andrews. Experience these heroes like never before. On this amazing island of fantasy, World War II Cap, Teenage Spidey, and Spy School Black Widow have found their tribes. They must now meet on the battlefield of death. The stage is set, the actors are in place, all that's left is war. Or is there one last chance to stop it all? This whole Amazing Fantasy run looks awesome. It's just fun to see some of these. It's basically a what-if scenario kind of deal, and it's just fun. It's not necessarily anything impactful to the rest of the universe. It's its own standalone deal, but it's fun, and at the end of the day, to me, that's what comics should be about. My next Marvel pick, this was one that is very near and dear to me because I love comics, but I also love tabletop gaming. So it's Sisters of Battle #2, written by Turin Grunbeck and art by Edgar Salazar. Demon Touched. Naviet Gita steps up and guides the Sisters of Battle deeper into the mystery of Sisea. But how will her past impact the future of the mission? If they can't fight their way through the unexpected appearance of a demon in the tunnels, it may not matter. And a shocking development within the Sisters' ranks. Again, I love Warhammer Universe, and I think that these comics are an awesome way to try and bring in some new people to the hobby. It's great, and we love new people. And more people should be playing. So give it a try, especially if any of the miniatures have ever piqued your interest at all. Be sure you're checking out Warhammer 40,000 Sisters of Battle #2. Next up is Winter Guard #2, written by Ryan Caddy and art by Jan Bazuldua, the Winter Guard team must split up in hopes of catching up to Red Guardian and the White Widow, who seems to always be one step ahead of them. It's a race across Russia, as the team must venture to Red Guardian's hometown in hopes of discovering the secrets of Project Snowblind. But with Crimson Dynamo in critical condition, can the Guard keep it together to uncover the truth in time? So for those of you who have seen Black Widow, we kind of got some of the Winter Guard characters in there. For those of you who haven't seen it, you need to go see it. It's awesome. It was so much fun. They're hilarious, and I hope that part of the characters gets portrayed in the Winter Guard book, and that's kind of why I'm picking it up. My next Marvel pick is X-Men 3, written by Jerry Duggan and art by Pepe Larraz. X-Men number 1 came out a couple of weeks ago, and it was fantastic. It was so much fun. Jerry Duggan is an awesome writer. Like I said, it was just fun. The X-Men are no strangers to being targeted for their genes, but when the High Evolutionary returns with his brand of unnatural selection, the survival of the whole planet is at stake. So I'm super excited to see what Jerry has in store for us for the future, because like I said, X-Men 1 was fantastic. If you haven't read it, go pick it up and read it. And my last Marvel pick is Wolverine 16, written by Benjamin Percy, art by Adam Kubert. The Solemn Truth. The game is nearly over, but when Solemn is involved, that's just an excuse to change the rules. Did you figure out the mystery before Wolverine? So, back in Ten of Swords, we were introduced to this character Solemn, and he's really interesting, but we didn't get to know much about him. He was just kind of there, and he promised that he would be back to kind of test his skill against Wolverine. Well, he's back now, starting with issue 14, and so this is just a continuation of that story. Solemn seems like he's going to be such a cool villain, so be sure Wolverine 16 is on your list for September, but this month be sure you're picking up Wolverine 14, and August make sure you're picking up Wolverine 15 to get the whole Solemn story. So that's it for my Marvel picks. Let's jump on over to DC. First up is Batman vs. Bigby, A Wolf in Gotham number 1, written by Bill Willingham and art by Brian Level. With the blood dry at Gotham's 4th gruesome murder scene, in as many weeks, Batman is stumped. The same hallmarks haunt each investigation. Brute force entries, bodies ripped to shreds and stamped with enormous bite marks, clumps of fur, wolf fur. Scattered in the wreckage, the streets buzz with rumors of a werewolf of Gotham. Determined to crack the case, Batman finds no leads and a mysterious, hairy, chain-smoking figure dodging his every move. The Dark Knight's dangerously close to losing his cool when a series of bombings level the city's libraries in the days leading up to the 32nd annual Gotham Library Festival. As Batman narrows in on the bookworm and his literary henchmen, he discovers an invaluable book from another world is at the center of the violence. Stranger still, the wolf is on it. But what kind of monster is built from such brains and brawn? And is he an enemy or an ally? Worlds collide as Gotham's mystery kickstarts a return to the world of fables. So this is going to be a good book for September, getting geared up for Halloween as Batman basically shows down with werewolves, which should be lots of fun. Up next is Deathstroke Inc. number 1. Written by Joshua Williamson and art by Howard Porter. After suffering too many losses, Slade Wilson decides it's time for a change. When he enlists to work with an ages-old secret organization called Trust, who want to take down the heavy hitter villains he's all in. They'll supply him with an all-new team and resources for his new mission in the depths of the weirdest parts of the DCU, including a new partner, Black Canary. Wait, what? Enjoy explosions, kick-ass action, and new outrageous adventures as DC's meanest SOB gets tangled up in a major mystery building in the shadows of the DCU. So I think Deathstroke's an interesting character. I also love Black Canary, so I think that's a pretty cool team up, and this book should be pretty good. My next pick for DC is Black Manta number 1, written by Chuck Brown, art by Valentin de Landro. Following his appearance in Aquaman 80th Anniversary 100-page super spectacular, The Scourge of the Seas now gets his own series. Black Manta is chasing a rare metal with incredible powers, and he's not the only one. Who wants to get his hands on it? Friend and foe alike. Tord is a former ally who has escaped hell, literally, to answer the call of the metal, but can Manta trust her? Hopefully so, because he might need her to help fend off Devil Ray, a new competitor for the role of biggest villain underwater. I love Aquaman. I know I'm one of the few people in the world that does, but I love everything Aquaman, and that includes his rogues gallery, so Black Manta number 1 is a for sure for me. Up next is Suicide Squad King Shark #1, written by Tom Seeley, art by Scott Collins. On leave from Suicide Squad, King Shark, an unfortunate tag-along, the Defacer gets swept into a mystical tournament of totemic animal spirits at the behest of King Shark's father, the god of sharks. Now King Shark must battle brutal warriors like Queen Tiger, King Roach, Prince Nematode, Princess Peregrine, and the terrifying Man King to finally attain his destiny, make his dour dad proud. So I think this is going to be a super fun book. I have a feeling that King Shark is going to be the alligator Loki or the baby Grogu of the Suicide Squad, the next Suicide Squad movie. So I think he's going to be super popular, and I think this book is going to be good to have once that popularity kind of hits. My next DC pick is what looks like a fun one. It's Are You Afraid of Darkseid #1. This has various writers and various artists. Kind of a play on the old Nickelodeon show Are You Afraid of the Dark? Gather around the fire, fellow campers, because it's time for the most terrifying of traditions. Campfire stories so scary you'll never sleep without a nightlight again. The Teen Titans guide those brave enough through the tales of Batman and the Hidden Killer, Superman and Lois Lane, Killer in the Backseat, Harley Quinn and Darkseid versus a furious Bloody Mary, and 4 more stories so hair-raising you'll call your mama to come pick you up. So toast your marshmallows, pull up a s'mores, and answer the only question that matters this Halloween. Are you afraid of Darkseid? So I'm loving all the horror-themed books as we get into the Halloween season. This should just be tons of fun, and like I said, comics are about fun. Up next for me is Checkmate #4, written by Brian Michael Bendis, art by Alex Maleev. Leviathan has arrived. They have followers and agents all over the globe. What is the secret behind Leviathan's power? The all-new Checkmate, a collection of the most dangerous spy masters, must team up to take back the world. Who is the secret hero behind Checkmate? Guest starring Superman. So Checkmate 1 was pretty good. It was full of lots of intrigue and mystery, and I think this is a series that I'm going to have to go all the way just because I want the answers. So be sure Checkmate #4 is on your list. My next pick, Pennyworth #2, written by Scott Bryan Wilson and art by Juan Gedeon. Again, I love the stories of when Alfred is basically a badass. This Pennyworth series should be lots of fun. I've got Pennyworth #1 on my list of things to pre-order when it comes around for FOC. It won't be out till August, but super excited about Pennyworth, and I do think that this book is going to be particularly good. Another book that I've got on pre-ordered is Joker Presents a Puzzle Box. #1 comes out in August, so #2 is September. Written by Matthew Rosenberg, art by Jesus Marino, Karen Grant, and Danny. This mystery grows with the Joker still in police custody for murder he didn't commit. It's the perfect time for him to continue his tale of twisted treasure hunts with black mass sojourns to the Siberian Sea and Harley Quinn bringing her over-the-top adventure underground. So like I said, I've got #1. It came up on FOC here recently, so I've got that ordered. It'll be out next month. Keep a lookout for issue 2 in September. My last DC pick is The Nice House on the Lake #4, written by James Tynion IV, art by Alvaro Martinez Bueno. James Tynion, he's been putting out some fire stuff here recently. The first 2 issues of this have been pretty intriguing. The story's basically about these people that get saved from the apocalypse by a non-human. We don't really know if he's an alien or some sort of like angel or demon or what. We don't really know what he is, but he basically saves his closest friends from this apocalypse. And it's about them. The first couple issues have been about them trying to process the information and what they're going to do to survive, and it's been really good so far. David wants nothing more than to make his fellow residents of the house laugh. He's the comedian, right? That's what he does. But no one's in the mood to laugh. Then perhaps it's time for him to perform the other function of comedy, to tell his audience an unbelievable truth. So be sure to be on the lookout for Nice House on the Lake #4, and that wraps up the DC picks for me. So let's get on into the independents. My first pick coming from Image Comics, The Beauty All Good Things One Shot. Written by Jeremy Juan and Jason Hurley, art by Jeremy Juan and Matthew Dow Smith. Jeremy Juan and Jason Hurley, along with artist Matthew Dow Smith, return to the devastating world of The Beauty for a 48-page special showcasing the finale of the groundbreaking horror series beauty-free. Another great pick for going into the Halloween season. I'm loving all the horror stuff coming out in September. I'm a huge horror fan, and this is the time to be picking up these books. My next image pick is M.O.M, Mother of Madness, number 3, written by Amelia Clark and Marguerite Benet, art by Layla Lies. Game of Thrones superstar Amelia Clark concludes the final issue of an oversized 3-issue miniseries. Maya's son was kidnapped by treacherous traffickers, and now it's up to her and her misfit mob of BFFs if she can escape her enemies and her past. Who's going to clean up the mess? This is coming out from Image Comics. Number 1 was kind of there was kind of a rush to go out and get number 1, so I think the series is already popular. So, and it's only a 3-part miniseries, so why not read it? My next pick is from Image Comics is King Spawn number 2, written by Sean Lewis and Todd McFarlane, art by Javier Fernandez. One of the most vile and horrific villains in the Spawn mythology returns. Billy Kincaid, now simply called Kincaid, but his new campaign to murder is more than it seems. Like everyone else in Spawn's universe, battle lines have been drawn, and all-out war is about to be unleashed. So this new Spawn stuff has been really good, and I'm excited. I'm going to read it all. So King Spawn number 2, September. My next pick for the Independents is Last Flight Out. This is from Dark Horse Comics, written by Mark Guggenheim and art by Eduardo Ferragato. With Earth rendered uninhabitable, humanity has chosen to evacuate to the stars. But with just 24 hours left until the last arc, designed to evacuate Earth's residents, leaves forever. Its designer's estranged daughter goes missing. Mark Guggenheim and Eduardo Ferragato tell the story of an absentee father trying to make amends with his daughter during the end of the world. This is number 1 of a 6-part miniseries. Maybe it's just the dad in me, but I'm real interested to see this story play out, and the optimism in me just hopes that it all works out for these characters. Haven't even read the story yet, but just the synopsis was enough to make me want the best. Also coming from Dark Horse Comics, The Worst Dudes number 4, written by Aubrey Sitterson and art by Tony Grigori. Are we still publishing this? Despite our best efforts, certified scoundrels Aubrey Sitterson and Tony Grigori tell the raunchiest, most hilarious sci-fi detective story in this or of any other galaxy, and B, disappoint and disgust their friends, family, religious leaders, and frankly, all of us here at Dark Horse Comics. So I've read number 1. It was fantastic. It's so funny, and it's just way out there. Number 2 is currently in my stack of books I still need to read, and then of course number 3 will be out in August. It's been so much fun, and it's like way out there. It's just crazy, and what better way to tell that story than in a comic? So make sure you're reading The Worst Dudes from Dark Horse Comics. Got a lot of Dark Horse coming out in September. Up next is Children of the Plague, written by Robert Love and art by Jeffrey Kimber. Remy, a young female Indo-American superhero in the near future, fights to free herself and her brother from lives battling in endless arena battles. These Children of the Plague were infected with a disease from outer space, now have superpowers, and have been rounded up and tested by the evil Valmount, a rich industry leader in the future. This just reminds me of basically the arena, the gladiatorial arena from Thor Ragnarok. Just super beings being gladiators and trying to break out. And it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. This is just a one-shot, so it's not like you're investing a ton of time into it. So be sure to check it out. Children of the Plague, Dark Horse Comics. My next pick, especially going into the Halloween season, we have to have a Halloween special. So Transformers Halloween Special from IDW, written by Dan Waters, art by Beth McGuire-Smith. Whispers of a disembodied spark howling alone in the desert are floating around Cybertron. Whispers of Starscream's loyalty to Megatron's cause are also floating around. Frustrated and needing some space to clear his head, Starscream visits the desert and is surprised to actually hear the rumored screams. He follows the sound and is met with a creature that makes him question what it means to be a cybernetic being. Starscream faces off with the grotesque experiment in I Have No Mouth and I Must Starscream. This looks fantastic. I love Halloween. I'm so excited for all these Halloween specials. And I'm definitely going to be picking them up. Make sure you're picking them up too. My next pick, coming from Dynamite, Vampiverse number 1, written by Tony Snigowski and Jeannie Atkinson,
and art by Daniel Main.
A different Vampirella for every thread, for every kind of story across the fabric of time and space. A Vampirella of every conceivable notion, born to protect her particular reality. But now, someone is killing them and stealing away their precious energies and growing in power. It's up to Vampirella of one of these universes to gather some of her special sisters to stop the growing threat and keep it from destroying the creator of all things, the artist, and preventing the unraveling of all reality. So I think if we've learned one thing from the Loki Disney Plus show, it's that we love variants. And I think we're seeing that trickle into some of these other universes, because Vampirella variants sound just as cool as Loki variants, and I'd love to read a book about them. So, Vampiverse #1, Dynamite Comics. Next up from ABLAZE, He Who Fights with Monsters #1, written by Francesco Artabani, art by Werther Deladera. On All Hallows Eve, a community struggles under the boot of the Nazi war machine when supernatural forces come to play a part in the conflict. It's World War II, and the struggle between good and evil is in full force. In Prague, the great Bohemian city is being oppressed by Nazi occupation, and the population lives in terror. While the resistance force tries to organize themselves in the shadows, it is an almost impossible task, with ruthless SS tightening their grip on every street and neighborhood with overwhelming might. Only one hope feeds the struggle, a crazy hope, which rests on the fragile foundations of an ancient monstrous legend. So again, it's Halloween, it's monsters during World War II fighting with Nazis. It's gonna be awesome. This is from ABLAZE. This is He Who Fights with Monsters #1. Moving on into Aftershock comics, I've been reading quite a bit of Aftershock books here recently, and they've all been pretty good. This is Search for Who #1, written by Steve Orlando and John Tsui, art by Ruben. When he left the military, Aaron Tsei's first thought was providing for his aging parents. His parents' bar is experiencing hard times, and one night it's shot to hell with his parents critically injured in the attack. But this was no ordinary robbery. Aaron's mother reveals that she fled China to escape the blood feud between the Jewish and Chinese sides of her family, both of which are powerful, organized crime families. Peace existed between these two families, the He and the Margolis, but now it's been broken, and Aaron must protect his parents from further violence. Aaron hops a plane to the homeland he never intended to explore, on a path to revenge he never wanted to walk. So be sure you're checking out Search for Who #1 from Aftershock Comics. My next Aftershock book, Almost American #1, written by Ron Mars, art by Marco Castillo, Spies Like Us. In 2008, husband and wife Russian intelligence operatives walk into the U.S. Embassy in the Dominican Republic in order to defect, making a deal to trade secrets for new lives. But instead, the American dream, Janusz and Victoria Neumann, found themselves caught up in the red tape, bureaucracy, and turf wars between the FBI and CIA, all while their past tries to kill them. Based on the real-life story of real-life spies, Almost American is written by comics master Ron Mars in close constellation with the Newans, with art by rising star Marco Castillo. This looks super interesting. We'll get kind of almost a real-life glance into the Cold War, as he's working with the actual people that the characters are based on. So I'm real excited to read this. My next Aftershock book, 10 Years to Death. This is just a one-shot, and these Aftershock one-shots have been really good. Eden was fantastic, so we're hoping that this is the same level. Written by Aaron Douglas and art by Cliff Richards, The Shawshank Redemption meets The Sixth Sense, inspired by an eerily bone-chilling true story. A newly hired prison guard, a notorious mass murderer, finally incarcerated for his crimes, and the death that binds them together. What happens when the murderer becomes the murdered? A prestige format one-shot featuring top creative talent, 10 Years to Death is a horrific, unnerving tale conceived and written by Aaron Douglas and drawn by Cliff Richards. So again, this is just a one-shot, and the last Aftershock one-shot I read was fantastic, so I really think that this one's going to be good. We're also going to be getting Bunny Mask #4. #1 was really good. It's being written by Paul Tobin and art by Andrea Moody. When the snitch speaks, the truth isn't just out there, it's inside your head, gnawing at your sanity and seeping through the walls of your world. On the verge of absolute madness, Tyler and Sheriff Tate return to the cave where it all began.
where the snitch was given voice and where Bunny Mask was set free. Will Bunny Mask help Tyler save himself, and if so, what unthinkable price will she ask? So like I said, I've only read issue 1. Issue 2 is not out yet, but I am keeping Bunny Mask on my list of books to be on the lookout for. Up next is Out of Body number 4, written by Peter Mulligan and art by Inaki and Miranda. This is still Aftershock Comics. Issues 1 and 2 have been good. It's a very interesting take on kind of being in the limbo that is a coma, and then there's something very sinister going on in the background, but we don't really know what that is yet. Do we really know what others think of us? Psychologist Dan Collins is finding out the hard way. While his body is kept alive by machines, he continues to search for who attacked him and left him hovering between life and death. Problem is, there seems to be a lot of possible culprits. Meanwhile, Dan tries to help the restless spirit of a suicide, Adam Conrad, with potentially lethal results. Astral projections, homunculi, and gardening tips. All this and more in the penultimate issue, Out of Body number 4. So this next one is a graphic novel. It's by a publisher that I don't normally have on our list. It's Humanoids, and it's Legends of the Scarlet Blades. Story and art by Severo Tenuta. Radio, a young Ronin, a masterless samurai, roams the land in quest for his memories. His first stop, the city that talks to the sky. The ultimate stronghold against the ice, invading the land of the rising sun. There he meets Mikai, a graceful puppeteer and storyteller of charms. With her aid, Rado begins to reassemble the pieces of the puzzle that is his identity. Legend of the Scarlet Blade is painted in the tormented and airy style of Severo Tenuta, is a series whose universe is inspired by feudal Japanese history and traditions, full of breathtaking settings, terrible dangers, and populated by a myriad of wondrous, mystical beings. So they give us a sample page in here, and the art's just beautiful, and I'm super excited about it. Like I said, this is a full-on graphic novel. It's being published by Humanoids. Be sure to check it out. It's Legends of the Scarlet Blade. So our last book for the month of September this is a Source Point Press book, and it's kind of carried with the theme of it's almost Halloween. It's Room Number 3, written by Ivan Vlasignola and art by Francesco Aguinta, 850 CE, Scotland. The Northman is prisoner in the dungeons of Fern and prepares to be questioned. Meanwhile, the Witch of the Coast prepares for an arcane ritual to rise a massive horde and attack the citadel. In Fern, Iona Derek is headed to the council hall to persuade the elders to carry out a very risky, if not downright reckless plan. Just based off the cover, this is going to be a great book for the Halloween season, and I'm really looking forward to all things spooky. Be on the lookout for Room Number 3 from Source Point Press. And that's all my picks for September. Thank you guys for listening. I love doing this stuff, and I hope that you guys find books that you wouldn't have normally picked up and give them a try. Because to me, comics, it's all about fun. It's all about new stories that wouldn't necessarily work in a different medium. Be sure you're checking this stuff out. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. It really helps us out a ton. And the more you guys help us, the more we can pump out more content for you. So thank you guys again, and we'll see you next time.